wasn't even the Colts game. It was the Jonathan Taylor game. He was a true slate breaker. 4 rushing touchdowns, 185 rushing yards. While he, I guess, if you want to say disappointed with 3 receptions for 19 yards, he did also throw in a 5th touchdown and a reception touchdown. Playing him in my home league, it hurts my heart because that man went off. There was no room for anybody else on this team to do anything because Jonathan Taylor just went nuts. Carson Wentz, I mean, didn't turn the ball over or anything like that, but he only had 11 completions for 106 yards. That's all he needed. Nyheim Hines, 4 rushes. He really wasn't involved that much. Michael Pittman, there was talks of him jumping into that high-end wide receiver 2 realm. Well, he's had 2 back-to-back weeks where he really hasn't done much. Granted, this is a different kind of game with the way that Jonathan Taylor played. So for the rest of season, Simon, Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor?
I did not want you to ask that question because that's the question going into next season, right?
Going
into next season as draft time comes around, Jonathan Taylor's really making a case for himself to be the redraft 101. But I just I want you to look at what Christian McCaffrey's doing. So in the game since he's been back, I believe he only has 1 touchdown, right? He's got a couple weeks over 20 points without a single touchdown. He is so involved in that offense each and every single week. This team can find success, and they've done it without Jonathan Taylor getting this volume. The Panthers don't do that without Christian McCaffrey getting it. I'll lean, but the upside is there with Taylor. It's the better offense. I'll lean McCaffrey. I feel a little bit safer in the volume he's going to get every single week. But, man, going into next season, it's going to be tough not to want to take JT 101. I hate my answer. Go ahead, Jail.
Jail.
Oh, I thought you weren't going to ask me. I thought this was a Simon-only question. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor rest of the season. Even when Christian McCaffrey has played, he hasn't. All of his other metrics here aren't as good as Jonathan Taylor has been putting up. He hasn't had a single game with over 100 rushing yards. I know McCaffrey makes a lot of his fantasy points in the receiving game, and he certainly has that over Jonathan Taylor. But I would rather go with Jonathan Taylor here. I think they're pretty equal, but I would lean towards Taylor.
And I'm going to go with Simon on this one. And JL, I think you made our point for us is even though he's not having these huge rushing games, he's so involved in the passing game. He's only had 1 touchdown and he's still getting over that 20-point threshold. Like Simon said, I mean, it's splitting hairs. These guys are 2 of the best in the entire league. So you're fine with either one of them. But I would lean Christian McCaffrey simply because of the usage in the passing game. And inexplicably, we've seen where Jonathan Taylor will have a big game, and then Nyheim Hines is so involved in the offense next week. So I don't necessarily trust the Colts either. I still think they're going to use Taylor plenty, but Nyheim Hines has these one-off games where he goes off. So
I don't think it affects.
I do trust
Jonathan
that they've
Taylor.
rounded. I think I get what Jay's saying. We've seen games where they heavily utilize Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor's usage has gone down, but I do think we've seen the Colts kind of round a corner with how they're using Jonathan Taylor over the past couple weeks. It seems like they've realized that their best chance to win is to run this offense through him instead of through the random backs, Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor gives them the best chance to win. So I don't have that same concern you have, Jay, which makes this really, really close between him and CMC. But
it's not me saying that I'm worried about him eating into his workload, but the Panthers don't have that guy that can break off a long run. You know what I mean? Like it's Christian McCaffrey in that backfield, and that's pretty much it. Since he's been back, Chuba's been non-existent.
What about what Albert asked here? Would you take Jonathan Taylor as the number 1 overall running back in Dynasty? Is he your number 1 guy?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
no question.
Who else would you argue there? Maybe Swift, but I don't think
the offensive line that they have in Indianapolis. I mean, yeah.